Is it a weird thing watching your son play baseball?
Totally. I always used to laugh at my dad when he would say that he was so nervous when I pitched. He was a pacer. He would just walk back and forth whenever I started warming up in the bullpen. And I was like, Dad, come on, you're not doing anything. And now, as I just watch my son get loose in the on deck circle, like, man, I'm more nervous watching him play than I ever was at Fenway Park.
You went to El Rancho High School in Pico Rivera where you played baseball, and you actually followed your older brother Randy, who graduated. He finished his senior season, and then the next year you began your freshman year. What was your whole high school experience like?
So much fun. El Rancho is a huge sports school with a lot of like family history that's kind of woven into the culture. In addition to that, following my brother who was had a storied career at El Rancho the 4 years before I got there, it was fun. A lot of pressure. I honestly didn't know, even as I look back now, just how much anxiety I was living out of trying to
Yeah.
live up to a family name and follow in footsteps and be better than and all that. And so a lot of fun, but a lot. I'm glad it's behind me. In all honesty.
But Randy must have done a good job because some of the steps that he took are steps that you followed, like following him to SC. Now, did you get recruited? Were you on athletic scholarship? How did you get to SC?
So I got there on almost a full ride academic scholarship, and that
Wow.
was a gold mine for them as coaches because I was willing to walk onto the team and not needing to take athletic scholarship money, and so
We don't think
recruited
about
there.
that being a pathway. We don't think of that as being a real pathway to athletics at the next level.
You know what? I knew that my grades would be an asset at some point. My parents and even my brother were encouraging in regards to, dude, keep those numbers up. It keeps your options way more wide open, and was able to walk on to the USC baseball team, make the team, and was there my freshman year when we won the whole thing
Crazy.
in
Yeah,
my freshman
national
year.
championship in '98.
Was in the bottom of the dog pile in '98 at Omaha when we won the whole thing. But it wasn't until my junior year, a couple years later, that I got some significant playing time and my career started to take off.
Yeah, and you actually got to play again in the College World Series. And one of the things I love about baseball, especially for men, as are in the process of following Jesus, is you have to learn to deal with failure and disappointment. And one of both the highlights and maybe lowlights of your career was pitching in an elimination game in 2000
Yeah.
College World Series against FSU.
Yeah, that whole College World Series run was kind of the culmination of this wild good run that I got on starting in the middle of my junior year. Something clicked middle of my junior year, and I grew into my body a little bit, got more confident, was able to throw my off-speed pitches for strikes, and I started rolling. And my hot streak coincided with my team's hot streak. We actually won 16 games straight to
Wow.
get through the regionals, super regionals, and then won our first game in the College World Series. I got to save that game as well. Then lost to LSU in an elimination game against Florida State. They put me in the game, tie game, and I think in the eighth inning, and got out of that, and then went back out there for the ninth, and gave it a little bleeder to the right side that scored the walk off game winning run that ended our season.
Flores one pitch away from getting out of the jam and preserving a 2-2 tie to send it to extra innings. Took something off, hit to right, base hit, the Seminoles will win it.
Honestly, at the time, it was sad and I was bummed out, but gosh, it was so much fun. I mean, good big time college baseball is about as fun of a baseball experience. Besides the big leagues, it's about as fun as it can get.
And that season at SC going into your senior year, you end up getting drafted.
Yeah. Yeah, it was unexpected. It was in the 29th round by the Oakland A's, a round that doesn't even exist anymore. That's not around.
Right.
And
Yeah, it took you about 5 years, right? Navigating
Mhm.
your way through the minors. In fact, even you and Portia got married sometime while you were on that journey before you reached the majors, yeah?
That's right. I met her my first full season in pro ball in single A in Modesto, California, playing for the Modesto A's, and she was born and raised in Modesto. So met her out there. We got engaged as I was going into double A, and then got married and went to triple A. And so it was she was there for the all of my journey from when I was making, $700 a month as a single A player, all the way through my minor league life and into the big leagues. So a wild ride.
Well, let's talk about the big leagues for a minute
AAA.
because
I got called up to AAA at the end of 2003, and then all of 2004, and then all of 2005. And my first ever call up, it was right in the middle of the Moneyball era for Oakland. I threw 85 to 87 miles an hour, and but I got it done. I always had a 3 ERA. I always had more strikeouts than innings. I always had less hits than innings and low walks. And but didn't wow anybody. Like I wasn't the guy that you watch me throw a bullpen and it was like that guy's going to be a major leaguer. It was more of
right.
like you look at my season or you look at my career, it's like that guy's consistent. God was just so kind and gracious to give me that kind of path and to meet the moment, to get the chance and to actually perform to a degree that kept that opportunity rolling.
That had to be a highlight, not just for you, but for your brother, for your mom and dad.
Yeah.
Was that while you were with the um, Oakland organization? Your brother was a pitcher with the Cardinals. He's actually got to pitch against each other.
Yeah.
What was that
It
day
was
like?
it was Father's Day weekend. And
Oh,
so
wow.
in Oakland, all the fam from Pico came out. Um, And on Saturday, the Saturday before Father's Day, Randy threw the bottom of the sixth inning, and I threw the top of the seventh. So back-to-back innings. A lifetime accomplishment. One that we talk about often. How rare something like that
Yeah.
to have that kind of gift.
Like,
Yeah.
what was it like being a believer through your pro days?
I remember being told my whole childhood as a kid in church, being told by teachers and Sunday school teachers and even my parents that the day's going to come where you're not going to be in your protected little church bubble and you're going to have to take your faith for a spin, or God's going to kick the tires on your faith and say, how much of this is yours? How much of this is you're just following because your parents are making you, and how much of this is actually you owning this? And so, if anything, college and pro ball especially were a time in my life where it was thrown into your face of how much of this do you really own for yourself? And you find the value of community, of just trying to find a couple of guys that are on the
Yeah,
same page as you that you can do life with. And there's no one there to wake you up to go to church. Your mom's not there to make sure you're being a good boy. You're on your own. And so you find out quick, like, man, if I'm not intentional about this thing that I know is an important defining aspect of my life will just basically disappear if I don't take active steps to make this a huge part of my life.
an
And so,
approach. As coaches, we're always talking about having an approach, right? What's your approach on the mound? What's your approach
yeah,
in the box to hitting, right?
right.
Now that you are the pastor and you're able to, like, how do you coach people, young people and men about an approach to life of following Christ?
General, but baseball for me particularly has such a connection to not only life but the spiritual life, and specifically, it's when you talk about approach, this constant guiding through seeing the bigger picture. So
Yeah,
much of what can happen in sports is you can ride or die on one at bat or one shot or one play, whether I'm talking to a person in my office about their life or their marriage or their parenting, or I'm talking to a 16-year-old who just struck out for the third time and wants to quit baseball and doesn't know why they even exist. It's the same approach. Pull back. You're on a journey here that God has you on, and we can learn from these instances like at bats or bad moments in life, good or bad moments, to build on to something greater. And so
yeah.
the approach is to constantly give people perspective. While you may have a bad at bat or a bad outing, this can still be a part of your journey towards your goal in sports or towards your closeness to Jesus.